evening, everyone. It's Friday, December 28th. I'm Tyler Clements with the Integrated Public Safety Commission.
And I'm Andy Vaughn.
We are here to share some very exciting news with you today. Executive Director David Weiss is retiring after a career of 28 and a half years with the state of Indiana.
He started with IPSC in 2002 as a field coordinator, which is what Tyler and I do now. And in 2011, he became the director.
Of the many accomplishments that Director Weiss achieved over the many years, several of those are contributed to the upgrading the radio system from the old 4.1 system to the new P25 radio system, as well as
He has assisted us in bringing FirstNet to Indiana, as he served as the state point of contact here in Indiana for the FirstNet Authority out of Washington, D.C.
And most recently, a very important topic here throughout the state is serving on the governor's School Safety Council, and we'll be sharing more information with you on that in the days to come. So we've had a wonderful opportunity to be able to take a few moments out of Director Weiss's schedule today before he departs the state to sit down and talk to him a little bit about his career. Dave, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy morning to speak with us. Can you share with us a few highlights of your career?
Well, I've been very fortunate in my time with state government to be involved in some very impactful programs. Starting in DNR, I was part of the Heritage Trust program. The environmental license plate was my project initially, so I know that the citizens of Indiana have benefited from it because of the amount of land that's been able to be purchased and allowed for citizen use, for the environmental purposes. So I feel blessed to have been part of that. Then moving over to this public safety program that initially there was no statewide radio system. And so we started out with a very small group of people. Fortunately, all public safety agencies in the state were involved, local, state, federal, in some governors' conference on interoperability, and convinced the legislature that the time was right to build out a statewide system, and been very fortunate, to be a part of that from the ground floor to even having an upgrade here a couple of years ago. Probably the highlight is just being able to work with a great group of people, not only in our agency, but with other local, state, federal agencies, elected officials, and a project that every citizen in the state benefits from.
Absolutely. Well, and Dave, you mentioned a radio project, and Andy and I were sharing that in our introduction. We were talking about migrating from the 4.1 system to the new P25 system. The radio system itself has grown over the years. The latest statistics show over 82,000 public safety users throughout the state, so they really speak for themselves in terms of numbers.
Well, when we go back and think about in 2002, when we finally got the funding mechanism worked out, and we were working on some of the state police sites to make them 800 megahertz, and then we had a few test projects in certain areas, and then the big boost was the CSEP project in the western part of the state, which was to get rid of the VX gas that from the plant at Newport, and so that gave us a series of sites through grants to upgrade. So everything was kind of, let's do one, let's do another, let's do another. And then as we moved through, I remember people in the southern part of the state saying, you're never going to move south of 40. But it took us 6 years, but in the last part of the build outs, I think we did 24 sites in one quarter, which meant there were 3 or 4 of us that were morning and afternoon going to different sites, making sure the construction was being done correctly and so on. So it's an endeavor that I think a lot of people never thought would happen, but through, agencies working together, we were able to get it accomplished.
For sure. And then too, Dave, we were talking about the build out itself. I think that we have a picture. We'll show that here. It actually shows the old system map. So very few sites as it started to where we are now with 174 sites and almost 10 sites proposed. So the build out still continues. Very remarkable.
Well, and I think the fact now that locals are recognizing that they can add sites, with the state picking up the maintenance of those sites, that we have made a commitment to public safety communications system that they can rely on for the next 20 to 25 years.
So Dave, we kind of wanted to know what were some of your greatest challenges you faced after you became the director? You had a lot of projects started, so we know that came with a lot of challenges.
Well, of course, we were, continuing to build out and maintain the radio system. But at the time I became director, we were also moving into the CAD RMS project. That's an immediate challenge to do that. And then, of course, in 2012 was when Congress passed the FirstNet legislation, so we took on another project with that. But I think, I don't know that it's necessarily what I would call a challenge. I think it's something that we're very fortunate in this agency to be able to do, and that's work with local, state, and federal agencies to make them aware of the interoperable options that are available to them. Mm-hmm. And so we're fortunate in that we get to work with a lot of very interesting and people who have a lot of qualities that assist us in getting these things done. Yes. And then the fact that we have been able to have an agency that has individuals with a lot of talents that we're able to share resources among each other. And I don't want to make it sound like a cliche, but we are really a pretty big family of about 40 people.
Yes, we are. And I'm thankful that I got to join this family about a year and a half ago. So thank you for that opportunity. Moving forward, we do have a new director, and we would like to know what advice you would give to Kelly Dignan, who's going to be our new director moving forward starting in January.
Well, I think the biggest thing is not changing, or I would advise her not to change her personality. We know that she's worked with the agency for a number of years. She's passionate about what she does. She has a commitment to this agency, and I think that's the biggest thing is just continuing the open communication lines with staff and keeping that passion of working with all the public safety agencies around the state.
So Dave, what do you think contributed to your success here at IPSC?
Well, I'll go back a number of years. My father always told me, and this was from the point of time that I had a paper route. He said, just make sure you treat people the way you want to be treated. And I've kind of carried that through in my whole work career, because I think it's really important to recognize that you work as a team, and you have successes as a team, and you have failures as a team, but you learn from both and move on. The other thing is being surrounded by good people. You know, I've had the fortune of really working, I'll say, with 6 governors. Each of their staffs, you know, were unique, but yet they all had very talented people that really, you know, want to work to make the lives better for the citizens of Indiana. So being able to work with, you know, very high quality people.
Over the last few months, we've heard a lot about your retirement and the plans for your retirement. We know that you're very active, very busy with your wonderful family. We've also heard that you might be taking a little bit of extra time on the golf course. What are your plans for retirement?
Well, initially, well, we've got a new granddaughter, so at the end of today, we'll be hitting the airport and heading out to see her. Not watching my phone as closely when the weather's bad. Spend time with family, and particularly grandchildren. Trying to relax a little bit.